Welcome to the July 19, 2020 online worship service at the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. I'm Rebecca Howard, Worship Associate. Our minister, the Reverend John Cullinan, is on study leave, and today I am delighted to welcome our guest speaker, our own Mike Adams. Mike grew up in this church and has been involved as an adult for more than 10 years. He has volunteered as a coming-of-age mentor, served on the RE committee, and volunteered as an RE teacher. Mike has delivered numerous sermons over the years for the Santa Fe, Los Alamos, and Taos congregations, and is willing to tackle challenging topics. Mike didn't say that about himself. I asked if I could add it. Mike has been studying bass, guitar, for about 18 months, and has organized weekly jam sessions with quarterly free concerts at the church. He has been involved in social justice for many years, including volunteering for the newly formed Racial Justice Action Advisory Council. He is currently reading Bell Hook's Feminism is for Everybody to explore the intersection of misogyny and white supremacy. Welcome, Mike. Our chalice lighting words come from the theologian, organist, writer, humanitarian, philosopher, and physician Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Each week brings joy and sorrow into our lives. We may come here today with our hearts soaring with joy or our hearts heavy with sorrow. The moving away of a beloved friend, or a baby bird who fell too soon from its nest, or the chaos and confusion of the events in the world may weigh heavily on us and bring a sense of sorrow. We may also come with joy at the birth of a new baby, or reconnecting with a friend with whom we had lost touch, or perhaps the blooming of flowers in our garden or in the forest may all bring us joy. Let us take a moment now as 2 candles burn in our sanctuary to bring to our minds and hearts the sorrows and the joys that we carry with us, whether shared aloud or held quietly and tenderly within. Our words for meditation today are from Jacob Trapp. If it is language that makes us human, one half of language is to listen. Silence can exist without speech, but speech cannot exist without silence. Listen to the speech of others. Listen even more to their silence. To pray is to listen to the revelations of nature, to the meaning of events. To listen to music is to listen also to silence, and to find the stillness deepened and enriched. May our lives be enriched in moments of silence.
The topic is white progressives and how they cause the most daily damage to people of color. I'm Mike Adams. In her book, White Fragility, Robin DiAngelo says, I believe white progressives cause the most daily damage to people of color. DiAngelo goes on to describe white progressives as any person, any white person, who thinks that he or she is not racist or is less racist. That sentence has caused quite a stir. It seems to have resulted in considerable hand-wringing among many of DiAngelo's white readers. I've seen this quote lambasted in book reviews and attacked on social media sites. I have heard of book discussion groups where this single sentence dominated more than 40 minutes of emotional, defensive, and dismissive disagreement. Skeptics question how someone opposed to or not involved in overt bigotry could possibly cause more harm than a person involved in a hate group, especially if they commit race-based hate crimes. So let's hear that sentence again, more slowly, remembering that white progressives are those who think of themselves as not racist or as less racist. DiAngelo says, I believe that white progressives cause the most daily damage to people of color. DiAngelo does not offer a one-for-one analysis. Rather, she talks about the damage caused by white progressives versus the damage caused by overt bigots. She is talking about the collective damage done by white progressives as a group, not individual cases. When I consider the hundreds, possibly thousands of people I've known who say without hesitation, I'm not racist, I can see exactly what DiAngelo means. One such person suggested that the USA simply needs more Native Americans like me. Natives who have learned to fix computers or perform other valuable skills. In my experience, this is a pretty common sentiment. What does it mean? What's the problem? Well, it implies that the USA needs more natives who produce wealth while performing traditionally white jobs. You know, valuable jobs, rather than what they do, which isn't so valuable, I guess. In other words, my acquaintance was telling me that we need fewer natives who live on reservations, especially if they focus on trivialities like preserving tribal customs or languages, or on producing needless native art. So in that one statement, this non-racist dismissed the inherent worth and value of literally thousands of indigenous people across this country, while affirming his notion of value as defined by white America. He did this in a way that is easy for other white people to accept, and in a way that told me his respect for me is contingent on my willingness to look down on other natives who work on preserving native traditions and cultures. I think all of that is incredibly damaging, and it's incredibly common. Particularly, it was egregious that he couched that racist comment as a compliment to me. DiAngelo also provides an example where a close white friend traffics in racist ideas while never mentioning race. They're discussing a couple who moved to another city and purchased a great house at a great price, which is, unfortunately, in a questionable neighborhood. DiAngelo immediately recognized that her friend means a majority black neighborhood. Her friend continues that the couple had to purchase a gun so that they could feel safe in their neighborhood and says, I can't even imagine moving to one of those neighborhoods, no matter how affordable or beautiful the home. Later, DiAngelo asked if indeed the couple had moved into a minority neighborhood, and her friend confirmed. In her book, DiAngelo explains that when white people discuss questionable or dangerous neighborhoods, other white people know that they're talking about minority neighborhoods. She points out that the idea of buying a gun for protection reinforces stereotypes of minorities as dangerous criminals. In this example, her friend actively perpetuates damaging racial stereotypes while never even mentioning race. D'Angelo points out that this sort of conversation is commonplace. For contrast, let's examine recent events. 15 days ago, on July 4th, near Bloomington, Indiana, 4 white supremacists assaulted and tried to lynch a black man. Fortunately, the assault was recorded and stopped by witnesses. The following day, on July 5th, black activists organized a peaceful protest at the local courthouse. During the protest, an angry white couple drove their car at high speed right through the crowd of protesters. Fortunately, there were no serious injuries. This incident reminded me that my mom had a cross burnt on her lawn in Dodge City when I was little, just because she was married to a white man. I was reminded of 2 separate incidents, one in New Mexico and the other in Colorado, where racist bikers quietly threatened me with brutal murder unless I leave a public restaurant so that they could have a place with no non-whites to eat their meal. These experiences caused me to view white people as inherently dangerous. Individually, I have many great white friends. However, as a group, I am unable to identify which whites are dangerous and which are safe. Therefore, I advocate for brown-skinned Americans getting martial arts training, tactical firearm training, and owning firearms. I believe we need to defend ourselves because no one else is really defending us. I have posted comments to this effect, accompanied with links to articles detailing white supremacist violence on numerous liberal discussion groups, and the feedback is instructive. Unlike the supportive commentary about a white couple owning a gun because they live in a dangerous minority neighborhood, I have consistently been told how wrong I am. In one group, where I'm actually an administrator, another administrator removed my comments and then took me out of the administrative group without even talking to me. He told another administrator who reinstated me that I was lucky he didn't block me from the group. In other groups, people have said things like, "The police will just shoot you. No questions." I sort of wonder if these people aren't aware that that's what's happening right now, and that's why there's so much unrest. Or they'll tell me, "You're an NRA shill." I'm not. I've considered joining the Liberal Gun Club, a group which actively opposes the NRA. Or they tell me, "Violence never solves anything." That's easy to say when you aren't being targeted by white supremacists. It's easy to say, "Be peaceful," when you aren't threatened with race-based murder. Or perhaps my favorite, "You're going to make things worse. We need to target the root causes of racism, and guns won't solve those." This is a straw man. I advocate for brown people defending ourselves. Never do I suggest that guns will solve the root causes of racism. For perspective, this country has existed for more than 200 years, and we've never tackled the root causes of racism. I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to excuse me if I feel that brown people should start defending ourselves now, given that horrible track record. I asked that woman why she thought brown people should be willing to be victims of white supremacist terrorism. I suggested that if she truly was alarmed by the idea of brown people arming themselves, maybe she should become actively anti-racist right now and recruit others to the cause this week. I pointed out that the sooner we create a country where brown people don't need to defend ourselves against racial terror, the sooner brown people will stop calling for minorities to be armed. I pointed out that racism is a white problem. If it affects minorities, but it is a white issue. She repeated the exact same talking points and added, I've been working on anti-racism for years. I do it every single day. Thanks for telling me that I should recruit people like I don't already do that. We had a back and forth where she kept saying the same things, coupled with various logical fallacies that misrepresented my points. After a few days, I dropped it out of sheer frustration. I do wonder, though, how many white people she might have talked to about racism had she not invested so much time trying to convince a brown man that brown people should not defend ourselves from white supremacist terrorism. 1 or 2 years ago, I discussed race with another UU, whom I have known for many years. They said that racism isn't actually that much of a problem and that many people of color simply prefer to see themselves as victims. This person talked about how they have worked hard for their achievements, and minorities really need to do the same. They talked about how the church's decision to hang a Black Lives Matter banner was misguided, and we should be working on anti-poverty or something important instead. I was taken aback. I'm not going to say who this individual was, but I'm going to break those comments down right here. Those comments express the ideas that minorities are underachievers and that we use racism as an excuse. Those comments suggest that inequality will end if and when minorities start working hard and quit being lazy. I can't say for sure that my acquaintance intended to communicate all of that, but given the context of this country's racial issues, all of those racist ideas were clearly communicated. Additionally, I'm certain that this individual has shared those opinions with others and that it communicated the same notions to those people. All of the things I've discussed here represent conversations that happen regularly. Similar ideas are expressed thousands of times each day across this country by people who see themselves as not racist. In this way, thousands of white progressives are reinforcing racist stereotypes every single day. D'Angelo's assertion that white progressives daily cause more damage than bigots is easy to understand in that context. So here's my call to action. I want you to examine your day-to-day lives. Look for examples in yourself and in other white progressives where they're damaging minorities. Make a commitment to be actively anti-racist, and that is going to be uncomfortable, as you'll have to effectively challenge microaggressions regularly. I'm not asking you to become angry and storm out of Thanksgiving dinner yelling that your friends and family are bigots. Rather, I ask that you really learn about white fragility and how to be anti-racist. I ask that you learn how to effectively identify and challenge everyday racist ideas. These ideas will come up regularly and with people whom you love and admire. This topic is uncomfortable, and anti-racist work will be difficult. You will be targeted by people who dislike what you're saying. In some cases, those people will be close family and old friends. I request that you engage in anti-racism anyway. I ask that you do so unapologetically, that if someone is upset, you educate them about racism, but don't apologize and don't back down. It's important, and I ask that you engage in this work starting today. Thank you.
Here in this religious community, we receive gifts that nurture body, mind, and spirit. Our offering is an opportunity to share some of what we have with the wider world. Even though we are unable to meet in person, we continue to take an online offering each week to support our community partners. For the month of July, our community partner is Self-Help Incorporated. Through grants and private and public contributions, self-help supports those who need help most during emergencies or in the quest to become economically self-sufficient. You can write a check payable to self-help and mail it to the address here on your screen and in the service notes below. The website address is also on your screen and can also be found below in the service notes. Please visit the site to learn more about self-help, and you can make your donation there as well. Thank you for your generosity. May what you give bring you joy. Go your ways, knowing not the answers to all things, yet seeking always the answer to one more thing than you know. Go in peace.